What's good? It's Wood. Canelo Alvarez, fresh off of his spectacular win over Callum Smith at 168 to capture the WBC and WBA belts, is scheduled to fight Avni Yldirim in February. And a lot of people are throwing up their hands and are accusing Canelo Alvarez of cherry-picking opponents. They're just super disappointed, like, what the hell is this? See, this is what's wrong with boxing. I ain't even trying to hear it, guys. I really ain't even trying to hear it. Canelo Alvarez just fought Callum Smith a couple weeks ago, who is an undefeated champion in a weight class that Canelo had only competed in once against a very, very lesser champion, lesser opponent, Rocky Fielding, and knocked him out in 3 to 4 rounds. He basically returns to that weight class and goes after the #1 ranked guy in the division, according to Ring Magazine. And this is coming on the heels of a year where he was involved in all kinds of litigation with Golden Boy, trying to get off the label, trying to get the money that he was supposed to be entitled to pre-pandemic, like $30 million a fight. Nobody could work out that kind of money. They went to court. Long story short, he's a free agent. He's away from Golden Boy, so he's got the option to work with Al Heyman and PBC, the option to work with Golden Boy again if he chooses to and fight on DAZN, the option to work with Top Rank and Bob Arum if he wants to, and the option to work with Eddie Hearn and Matchroom DAZN. And that's who he chose to work with in his first fight after that long legal battle. You know, it had been a year since he'd been in the ring. It was back in November when he fought Sergey Kovalev up at 175, in the first and the only time he's fought at 175. So it had been a year. He goes through this legal frustration, and then shortly after, he's declared a free agent, and a lot of people are like, oh yeah, Canelo gets to fight who he wants, blah, blah, blah. Within a couple weeks, it's like, I'm fighting Callum Smith. I'm like, word? And so that's the kind of excitement that we're coming off the heels of. And people are mad because he's taking on a mandatory challenger. So that when you're a belt holder, you could fight who you want to. You can work out whatever business you want to work out. But you got to come back home and defend the title against a guy who that sanctioning body says, this is who you need to fight because they are our #1 ranked contender. So Canelo is fighting Avni Yldirim. He's a highly qualified journeyman. He's kind of a win some, lose some type of guy. And he's only losing to like some of the best fighters. He lost to Anthony Durrell, a two-time belt holder at 168. Brother of Andre Durrell. So Avni Yldirim is kind of an action-packed type of fighter. He's swinging for the fences. So that's going to be a fun, like almost a James Kirkland-like matchup. And remember those fireworks, Canelo fans and non-Canelo fans? That was something, right? At least for a few rounds. So he's fighting Avni Yldirim, but that's neither here nor there. The biggest point I want to make is that he's fighting on such short turnaround. He just fought a couple weeks ago, and he's fighting in February. From where I sit, that's less than 2 months from now, which is very rare for somebody who gets to Canelo's stature. You know, once you get to the Floyd Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao levels, you might fight twice a year, or you might fight 1 time a year. But for Canelo to, have that frustrating 1 year of inactivity, then come back and fight Callum Smith, and then perform like that, and then fight again in 2 months, man, we're getting a treat. What y'all talking about? I'm stuck at a train track with the train just sitting there, just so you know. But yeah, we've been getting treated to Canelo being as ambitious as a champion can be, as a pound for pound elite can be. And so he stated his mission. He wants to unify the titles at 168, right? So because he's got such a short turnaround, and he wants to get right back in there in February and handle his sanctioning body obligation, that means that and it's reported that he and Eddie Hearn, Matchroom, DAZN, are in the process of working out a 2-fight deal for Canelo. meaning that he comes back for Cinco de Mayo. That's May, just 3 months after the Yldirim fight, to take on Billy Joe Saunders. I believe he's a WBO belt holder at 168. So he's stating his mission: I want to collect all 4 belts. I'm going to come to this division because, you know, he had fought Triple G the 2 times at 160 and also flirted all the way up at 175, light heavyweight, to take on former champ Sergey Kovalev, who I believe was actually a belt holder at the time. Dangerous fight, even if you thought Sergey Kovalev wasn't what he once was. But yeah, Canelo's stating his mission, and Billy Joe Saunders is standing in his way. So he's saying, I want to handle business in February and then come right back 3 months later, May, and take on the undefeated former 160-pound champ and current 168-pound champ, Billy Joe Saunders. What is there not to love about that? Now, those who are saying, because I want him to fight Jermall Charlo, look, I get it. If Canelo was down to go back to 160 and felt comfortable doing so, that is one of the best fights you can make in boxing. Canelo Alvarez versus Jermall Charlo, oh my goodness. Especially after that Derevianchenko fight for Jermall, I would love to see that fight. And for those who want, you know, Canelo versus Triple G3, well, first of all, if that is the #1 fight you want to see Canelo in right now, you're just not watching enough boxing. I get it, but there are so many exciting challenges out there for Canelo. There's David Benavidez at 168. Are you kidding me? And look, I'm in the camp that thought that Golovkin won the first fight. I thought the second one felt even. I wouldn't have been mad either way. It's just unfortunate that both of those fights took place without Triple G able to reap the spoils of 2 win-worthy efforts. You know what I'm saying? Especially after like fighting in obscurity for all his career up until that point. Only the hardcores were really knowing who Triple G was going into that. So this was his coming out party. We had seen him fight a difficult fight with Danny Jacobs, but aside from that, he mowed through the division for that half a decade prior, right? So to see all that and then him come out of 2 Canelo fights, who we'd been dying to see him fight for a couple years before it eventually happened, to come out of those 2 fights with that little payoff, that little reward, whew, and a loss to your record, Triple G was undefeated. But Jermall Charlo versus Canelo, I get it. Triple G versus Canelo, I get it. It's just that Canelo doesn't want to come back down to 160 anymore. And Jermall Charlo and Triple G both hold belts at 160. So it's like, do they want to then go up and basically Canelo hunt at 168? Or do they want to hold it down where they currently are? But Canelo isn't going to 160 at this point for anybody. So he wants to take on Billy Joe Saunders. And then the other guy with the belt is Caleb Plant. So so Canelo would then have to work with Al Heyman and PBC to get that business done. So look, I'm not mad at this path that Canelo's on. I think he's, the thing is, everybody else at 168, all these belt holders, nobody was fighting each other. So you've got divisions where you've got like 3 or 4 champs and they don't have any plans to fight each other. So you've got a guy here, a champion, who's who's picking out all of the top dogs and saying, I want you, I want you, I want you. And he's daring to be great. So come on, come on. Yeah, I just don't get that sentiment, you know, that when Canelo's announced who his fight in 2 months is going to be against. Because that, again, just allows for more fights in 2021. What? But please, leave your comments in the comments. Let me know how you feel. Like the video, subscribe to the channel if you are into the fight talk. I'm Woog. Thanks for tuning in.